Hello, everyone, and welcome to my latest in a series of nostalgia driven live chats. And I already have somebody in here waiting for me. Tracy Ross Myers says, Hello, everyone. Tracy, hi to you too. So great to see you. The View with Drew is also in the house and says, Hey, what's up? Mr. Drew, or always good to see you as well. Welcome back to our nostalgia driven channel. The unapologetic geek, or as we know him here, casually Tug is in the house. He says hi to you, Tug. And if you haven't had a chance, the two of you, you're gonna check out the Tug's retro channel. It's absolutely amazing. He does some of the best sci-fi retrospects available today. He has one on the Misfits of Xanti. It's part of a series he's doing on the Outer Limits. It was a blast. It's actually one of my favorite ones, even with the silly ant people. Dave Claroni in the house says, Thrash, Thrash. Hey to you too. Keith E says, since you're doing music reviews, you really did kill My Sharona for me. It's kind of hard not to. It really is the definition of a creepy classic. For those of you who haven't seen my creepy classic on My Sharona, check out my channel page every now and then, and check out my creepy classics, including but not limited to My Sharona. Mandy Butler said, Hi, you are early. Yeah, Mandy, I always try to be a few minutes early. Every now and then I have tech problems and it's tough for me to get her up and going. The good news is when I don't, it means I get right on there. But don't worry, I haven't missed anything so far. All I'm doing is asking everybody how they're doing and saying hello. And I just glitched for a second. Let me know if that becomes a running problem. Tug says multitasking, so I might not comment too often. Tug, your presence alone is a treat enough as it is. So thank you so much for joining us. Let's just see. John Doe's in the house says hello, everyone. Tratha Rosmeyer says, I love the Utter Limits. Then you have to check out his ongoing series on it. Uh Bobby Renee, how you doing, Bobby? He says, Hi, low host. I am host, by the way. I am the host with the most, and I'll never ghost on either coast. He says he goes on to say with the most. Oh, host with the most. Thank you, and your best of the rest fans. Very good, very good. Mindy Butler says, "Oh, I will, my Sharona. Please do, please do." I was very proud of that one. Mandy goes on to say, How are you, Thrash? I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. Big Guys 45's in the house says, Hello, folks. Oh, and Big Guys has been posting new material. I saw a little blurb from you saying you were taking a little bit of a break, but then I saw new material today, and that's great. And guys, you got to check out Big Guys 45's. He's been putting on some great nostalgia posts. Very, very good stuff if you like old vintage music and whatnot. Tom the Hungry Jerk says, Hi, everyone. Hi to you too, Tom. Zuplex says, Hello. So nice to see you, Zuplex. John Doe says, Did anyone say yogurt yet? Not just yet, but I think I did. So we can count that. Tug says, I think I'm getting into my rhythm with those Outer Limits reviews. I'm less self conscious about them now. You were self conscious before? You always seem to just rattle them off. But if you feel more in your comfort zone, you do you, but yours have always been good. Oh, and Trey Thoros Myers, one of my favorite, I'll have to reverse engineer this in a second, but my favorite Star Trek pun quote from me, which is hair today and Gorn tomorrow. A silver thrash button to anyone who could explain that one. I'll give you guys a few minutes to try to do it first, and then I'll pop in. Darrell Johnson says, Bob. Darrell, so good to see you. Mr. Led is in the house, says, Hey, Thrash, hi, gang. Mr. Led's so glad you could make it. Mandy Butler says, Gorn got his autograph. Well, you're on the right track. Here's the deal, Mandy. The same actor who played the Gorn, his name eludes me for the moment, but he also played Peter Rabbit, or the hare, the rabbit that was late for a very important date in the Star Trek episode where they're always going into like dream sequences, and it opens with people were fantasizing about Alice in Wonderland. And since it was played by the same person, I came up with the pun: hair today, Gorn tomorrow. Tom Lungy Jerk says Bobby Clark, me too. Thank you. Thank you. Bobby Clark was the man who played both the Gorn and the March Hare. A lot of people having fellowship. Mr. Led says Tug loved the Outer Limits reviews, as do we all. Bobby Renee says, Mr. Geek, thanks for your live stream. I saw and followed our host. Yeah, Geek does some great stuff as well. In fact, I've been on a few of them. So, in fact, we should talk another upcoming project. Well, not tonight, but in the not too distant future. Mandy Butler says, "Wah, cool, isn't it though?" Teresa Rosmeyer says, "LOL, love it, Rob. Thank you so much, Glenn." Yeah, Pat actually, I guess Pat was at a sci-fi convention, a Star Trek, some convention, and he used that, and I guess it brought the house down. So I'm glad to be of service. John Doe says, "Watching the Magnetic Monster, it's different than the normal classic movies I watch." I think I saw that one. Oh, I don't want to give the game away. I don't want to say is that the one where, but it takes place in an underwater research facility, doesn't it? Well, enjoy it as you watch. Mindy Butler says Tracy Eugenics too. She's about my age, just about. Never ask a lady your age though. Oh, Tom the Hungry Jerk says, "Is Wizards coming up?" Yes, Mezami, I promise you, it is coming up. There's just a few things I need to do in order to do that one justice, but I promise I haven't forgotten about Wizards. I promised that one actually to our friend of channel, Mr. Preston Downey, otherwise known as that fat samurai guy. In fact, I was going to call him tonight, but the night got away from me. Look who is here. That fat comic book guy says, "Ooh, wow. Dan, so glad to see you, Mr. Comic Guy. Thank you for joining us." Lance Chaffin in the house says, "Hiya, Thrash. Hi to you, Sir Lancelot." Terrell Eugene Bellinger says, "Happy first Thursday of 2023. Hey, Thrash. Teb, always nice to have you in the house." Skipping down while everyone's having fellowship. Oh, Danny Staten is also in the house saying, "I was wondering about you. Did you get my message? Well, I'm glad you're here, regardless." Gary Carpenter says, "Hello, hello there. I'm back. Glad to have you back, Gary. Good to see you again." Dre Rothmeyer says, "I am 55. Same age as me, actually." Very, very good. Oh, Tug says, "I'm sure I'll have another stream you can jump on soon enough, Thrash." I am so looking forward. I am so looking forward to it. Oh, by the way, guys, speaking of Tug and myself, you can follow us on Facebook now, too, by the way. We both have Facebook pages. I have mine basically solely so I can talk about my YouTube channel. Oh, Dilly Dan's the good stuff. That's his third appearance tonight. Says, "Nope, you didn't." I'm so sorry. Yeah, I said I'll see you tonight. I wondered why I hadn't heard back from you. But anyway, I'm so glad I did see you tonight. Excellent, excellent. Um, it was weird. I mentioned it on both of my posts today. Oh, friend of channel Cindy DD. She requested that I do another one of my forgotten 80s song lyrics. That's where I take 80s sing-along songs that we all know and love and test your knowledge of them by asking questions on 10 songs to see if you know the forgotten lyric. And you'd be surprised how many people miss. But I do one which is the questions and one which is the answers. And I mentioned on both of them I was doing a live show tonight, and also on my Facebook and community page. So if it fell through the cracks, I am terribly, terribly sorry. Teb says, "Have you ever listened to a radio station that switched from one format to another?" Not off the top of my head. Not off the top of my head, but I wouldn't be surprised if I have and just missed it. John Doe says it's about two agents from the Office of Scientific Investigations are sent to investigate high levels of radiation and magnetism centered above a hardware store. Oh, no, that I haven't seen that one. I must be thinking of an old 50s sci fi horror movie. John Doe says an energy-eating isotope. This does sound familiar, though. You know what it might be? It might be you might be watching a modern remake of one of the classics. They were doing that for a while. They were making modern remakes of the old what they used to call drive-in movies. Movies. Dan says knew you were on, just wasn't sure of when. Yeah, I'm trying to stick to 8 o'clock. 8 p.m. seems to work best for me. I was doing 8:30, but 8 o'clock seems to be working best. Mr. Led says, didn't do well on those thrash. Guess I'm not much of a boomer. Well, I actually did some digging. I actually found some really obscure lines. I mean, as far as the song goes, I mean, to me, I remember them. They were pretty much the soundtrack of like my high school years, some college years. But I found very obscure lines in them. But if I made anybody feel like a novice, don't worry. I actually missed a couple of them myself. In fact, I actually got one wrong. Apparently, Joe Perry says you can fly when you're standing still, which flies in the face of Newtonian mechanics. I thought is you can't fly when you're standing still, but in any event, thank you all for playing. Those were a lot of fun. Keith E says you're sharing a lot of good content on Facebook. People are missing out. Thank you. Well, I can't say I have a lot of friends. I have about 80 of them. That's pretty good considering I only started about a week or so ago. But people putting out some really, really excellent content on Facebook, stuff that really, really matches stuff that I would say myself, actually. So I try to share as much as possible, much like I'm always asking you people to share my content. Hint, 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 hint. So check out the Facebook page for those of you on Facebook, and I'll friend accept any of you, and check out some of the good content therein I'm sharing. Zuberblix, hey Zub. Zuberblix says T-Pons has never shown his shoes, but he does show a lot of hats. My shoes are rather beat up, by the way, and I don't think I could lift my leg high enough to show my shoe. I could show a slipper if you want. There we are. This is a Thrash Pondo slipper. There, we've covered all the bases now, but I do wear a lot of hats actually. This one because I am a tape head. Nothing. Skipping down, John says, no, it's the original 1953. I don't recall that being in a hardware store. I thought it was in a an underwater laboratory. I've seen so many old 50s sci-fi movies. I think I may confuse some of them here and there. Bobby Renee says, thanks for making us your co-stars in your universe. You're very, very welcome. It is like that, actually. It's like this is a talk show where I'm the host, you guys are my co-host. And I'm glad you enjoy. Butler says any other formats thrash? Not at this time. Just Facebook and YouTube. There may be others down the road. My wife's always saying I might want to do TikTok. On the clock, DJs blow my speakers up. Sorry. Oh, Trailer Reminder says nice slippers. Zuplex says first of a kind. Thanks to Mandy. Mandy Butler says, "Oh my thrash shoes, thank you. You're welcome." Uh, oh, is Tom? Someone just said hi to Tom Lemery. Is Tom Lemery in the house? Why, hello, Tom. Mike Silva in the house. 80s best decade for movies and cartoons. Could not agree with you more. Keith E says that's a really big shoe. It certainly is. Lance Chafin has an excellent point. Where's Emily? She shared my post about having a live chat tonight, so she certainly knows about it. Hopefully she'll be here soon. Tab says, which show from ABC's original 1989-90 TGIF lineup do you really enjoy the most? Full House, Family Matters, Perfect Strangers, Just the 10 of Us. I'm gonna pull this one out of left field. I'm gonna go with Just the 10 of Us. I had a crush on Connie among the rest of the older daughters. And I'm sure I've mentioned this on at least 16 occasions, but I'm going to do it again. She's actually the art student in the outfield song um, Your Love in the music video. One of my favorite music video trivia questions. Dilly Dan has been sharing Links, thank you so much. Sublick says, I have something like 9 pair of shoes. Really, I only have 1 pair of feet. There's Tom Lemery. I am making a tater tot pizza casserole tomorrow. Oh, that sounds delicious. Gary Carpenter says, MS, yes, it was on So Were the 70s. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, it was. So were the 70s, as far as the 70s and 80s being good decades for music and movies. Mandy Butler says, "Hey Mike, just saying, '80s movies best." You can certainly make a good argument for that. Although there were some other good movies in other decades. Tom says, "I'm a Filmation kind of guy. That was more '70s. Filmation was good too, of course." John Doe says, "Perfect Strangers, hands down." Mike Silva says, "Punky Brewster." Uh, Uh, Gary Carpenter says, Tom, me too, but I also like Hanna-Barbera. How could you not love both? Mr. Lynn says he used to love Family Matters. That was a great show, too, with Urkel. Mandy Butler, Perfect Strangers. It was a good show. I certainly enjoyed it. Tom Lemery says Family Matters. Gary Carpenter says Night Court, another country heard from. Mike Silva says, I want my MTV. John Doe says, liked Hanna-Barbera Filmation and Ruby Spears fan. Tom says, Perfect Strangers. Balky, no way. Big Guys 45 says, I still need 56 more to meet my goal, but I'm getting there. You certainly will. Tug says, thanks for the link to Daily Dan. Oh, speaking of music video tidbits, you know what I recently found out when I was doing my Brian Adams research? For those of you who remember, he did it was like a concept block of videos back in the 80s, summer of 69, Need Somebody, a few others, Run to You. There was a young lady who was a recurring guest in the videos. There was a subplot about a girl with an abusive boyfriend who was in love with Brian Adams. The girl in it, and I must have known this and forgot it. I couldn't have not known it. But the girl was the princess in Krull. So, Tug, remember we were just talking about Krull, and you were mentioning some of the other things she did. She was also a recurring character in Brian Adams videos. Little tidbit for you. Daily Dan says the good stuff broke 400 subs. Pawns, you rock, you rock. Hopefully, I'm not far behind you. Mandy Butler says to Gary Night Court. Zublik says there is a reboot of Night Court. Looks interesting. Yeah, not Dan, Dave was actually talking about it. Interesting, enough. Certainly give it a shot. Bobby Renee says, "I love Battle of the Network stars. We should do it." My athletic days are over, I'm afraid. Keithy says Emily birthday is around the 18th of the month. I did not know that. I did not. 554? 54? Oh, I just glitched again. Give me a second. I'm trying not to get too far behind, but you guys have some gold in the comment section, so I want to get to as many of them as possible. Uh, let's see. Lance Chafin says I'm having Pizza Hut stuffed crust pizza, and their melt's delicious. Troy Thornton Myers says, "Did you know the Breakfast Club Anthony Michael Hall was driven to detention by his real life mom and sister?" Yeah, someone else just told me that. It's very interesting. Yes. Um, Big S 45 says, Mandy, are you new? Don't remember your name. Sorry. New ish. She's been here for, I want to say, a couple of 3 weeks. But one of our new veterans, I guess you could say. Uh, Tom says just cooked and ate some lasagna. Yes, he has a new job at an Italian restaurant. I hope that's working out well for you. Let me know, how is the new job treating you? Lance, lucky you. Bobby Renee said that. Let's see. The golden rage of TV. Pat, our good friend, is visiting us tonight. He says, "Hi, gang. Pat, how you doing?" Pat shared some really scary coastal flooding pictures with me earlier. Pat, I don't know. I hope you're not that close to the coast. I hope you're doing well and your family is safe. Please take care. We're all thinking about you. Tom Lemley says Family Matters is a spin-off of Perfect Strangers. I knew that and completely forgot that. Um, skipping down, Mr. Teb says, which show from CBS 1973 for Saturday lineup do you really enjoy the most? All in the Family, MASH, Mary Tyler Moore Show, The Bob Newhart Show, or The Carol Burnett Show? I love all of them. Um, uh, All in the Family is one of my favorite shows of all time. MASH is one of my wife's favorite shows of all time, and it's probably my top 10. I always love The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Um, while I had a particular affinity for the second Bob Newhart show, the one set in Vermont, I really love the original one where he's a therapist in the Chicago area. And the Carol Burnett show, this is a true story. My friends and I, they used to show it on like one of the local channels in my area. Remember when I got that first black and white portable TV? I would try to get home quickly from school because one of the afternoon affiliates showed the Carol Burnett show in rerun, and I loved the Carol Burnett show. So you know what? I think I like that one most of all, Scarecrow. John Doe says Battle of the Retro with Thrash, Dave, EMC, and Tug. Thank you for not including Pat. He'd probably mop the floor with all of us. He's probably in the best shape out of all of us. Tom says all the family. Tugs has got to go with Nash. That's probably the best show. It's one of the best shows of all time. So if you want to do quality of television, yeah, okay. I'll go with Mash is the best show. Um, the funniest show, I'm gonna stick with Carol Burnett. But as for quality TV, you gotta give it to Mash. Daily Dens of Good Stuff has given another link, this time to Pat's The Golden Age of TV. John Doe says Carol Burnett because I'm a comedy fan. Mandy Moore says Thrash, why do you have such a good memory? Thank you for saying that. I don't know if you noticed this. I spent half the show though going, uh, uh, I mean, I'll get there eventually, but I have to think a lot to find these nuggets in my memory banks. Tug says, mind blown, Thrash. I'm assuming you mean for the Brian Adams. Yeah, check it out. It's really here. I'm like, Pat says, great to see all my friends chatting away. 3 cheers for Thrash Pondo. And you know what? 4 cheers for you. He just finished his first season of his interviews on his The Golden Range of TV channel. If you haven't seen them, check them out. They're all amazing, and we're all looking forward to season 2. And again, Dan has given a link, so everybody check it out. Gary Carter says, Thrasher, you are buffering again. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that. I think it's because all the people just suddenly like came on to the show. By the way, a bunch of people just joined on, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. Tug says, I'm only interested because John Larroquette is involved of the new Night Court. I'm going to skip down real quick because, again, I've seem to have gotten way behind. Zuplik says T-Ponce is a repository of all forms of memorabilia of the popular culture. Thank you. Golden Rage says, weather's fine. ML damage bad. Well, hopefully you didn't get too much damage. Thank you for asking. Daryl Johnson says, "Hey David." Not sure which David he's referring to. Is Dave Selstrom in the house? But anyway, hello David. Mandy Butler says Thrash brings us together. Our leader. Oh. You flatter me. Tom says it's rotten here in Northern California. Do, 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 do. Mandy Butler says, I'm here to stay. Heart, you guys. Oh, thank you. Pat says, lots of damage on the coast here, Tom. Oh, trust me, New Englanders, there's nothing we're more sympathetic about. Daily Dan has given another link, and this time to Big Guys 45s. Thank you. Rorito says blessings from Puerto Rico. Rorito, welcome. So glad you could make it. Zuplex is also from Puerto Rico too, by the way. And um, welcome to our little group here. We're having just a little nostalgia chat tonight, mostly about old vintage TV and music videos. Anything you'd like to talk about from the 70s, 80s? Throw it on out, and we will address it with all vigor. Mandy Butler says, I'm here for Thrash Pondo's knowledge. Thank you so much. Pat says, yes, I am, but on high ground, Thrash. Thanks. Good. Very, very good to hear. Oh, Daily Dan is also greeting Rorito. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correct. Tug says, it is a bottomless well of knowledge. Yes, but you see, oh, and Zuplex says, Rorito, glad to have a fellow Puerto Rican. Hola, patron. Um, that's the way I can't be on Jeopardy because people say to me, "Why didn't you go on these like nostalgia trivia shows?" Because I can't rattle off like they can. Like it takes me more than a millisecond. No, if you ask me a really tough question and you let me give me about 15 seconds of going, yeah, let's see who was in Battle Royale. Yeah, I'll get it eventually. But I can't rattle it off like those guys. Those guys are crazy. Although this is a feather in my cap, and this is a true story. Years ago, I was a lifeline for a guy who was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. True story. True story. Let's see. Rorito says Dick Van Dyke was a good show. It certainly was one of our favorites, and of course, Mary Tyler Moore went on to do the Mary Tyler Moore show. Bobby Renee says Golden Rage. Thank you too for having host in your live stream. Yeah, he does some great live streams as well. By the way, hopefully we'll have some very very soon. By the way, I have a temporary layoff from the restaurant I work at. By the way, they closed from some renovations, which means I'll be free evenings for a precious while. Lance Javen says Mandy's always welcome here. Lance, you're always so nice. Thank you. That's very nice of you. Like I said, I'm gonna skip real quickly because I think I dropped a little behind. Teb says, "Can you please explain the similarities and differences between a trolley and a light rail?" I can't. I'm guessing they're both some type of streetcar. I know clang, clang, clang with the trolley. I'm guessing ding, ding, ding with the light rail. Best thing notes at short notice. Tom says, met Tim Conway 20 years ago. Funny guy. Yeah, he was doing a series of commercials for a local restaurant chain, which is gone now, called Friendly's. Well, they're not all gone, but they're almost forgotten. Gary Carpenter says, nothing can top the Lucy shows. I think you might be right there. Let's just see. Yeah, I jumped again, so I'm going to go back for just a second to see if I missed anything important. Then I'm going to go rattle through them. Oh wow, I'm way like crazy behind. Pat says bringing the Larry Sanders Show. Dear God, so funny. Skipping down, Tug says, I am jealous of your memory. Mine works about as well as what we were talking about, but John Collins is in the house, and John Collins says, message retracted. And a message retracted to you, too. But thank you for joining us. I'm sure you have another comment down the road. Pat says, thanks, Bob. You are quite welcome. Daryl Johnson says, please hit the like button. Lisa Field says, hey, Thrash Pondo. Hi, but everything. I guess she's saying hello to everyone. Lisa, so glad you could make it. You promised me you were going to try to make it tonight. So glad you did. Lots and lots of people saying hi to Lisa. And I'm so glad because we all love her now, don't we? Uh, uh, Golden Ranger TV says, wow, damage in the millions. Ooh. It really was a bad storm, eh, boss? Zublik says, you know who is missing in action? Georgia Years and Music Girl 67. Georgia Years was here last week, though. Music Girl 67, she works nights and has been having to work while these have been going on. But she has mentioned that she's with us in spirit and sometimes watches the reboots. Teb says, true story. My mom used to take me and my siblings to go and ride on the SEPTA Market Frankfurt line when I was a little kid. I believe that true story. Please excuse me. Very flat diet ginger ale. Tastes like brake fluid. Gary Carper says they had an earthquake there last week. Really crazy. John Doe says, you think they'll ever be able to have Godzilla Gamera movie team up or versus? Probably not. You got Toho on one side, you got DEA on the other. Two studios can't stand each other. I would absolutely love to see it, but I don't see it happening. Andy Butler says, you are a chosen one. Wow. Praise from Caesar. Love to your lovely wife. Thank her for letting us have your time, Thrash Pondo Ponds. I'll pass that on to her. I'll pass that on. I think you're very, very cool. She had to go to an inventory for a store this morning, so she's out like a liot. Yeah, she had to get up at like 3 in the morning. Tom Limmery says the original Batmobile in the 1966 series only went 40 miles per hour. That's probably why they always sped it up when it went. You ever notice that? It was always sped up footage when you actually saw it going. Mike Silva says, Gary, Avalanche movie from 1978. Ever seen it? I'm not familiar with that one. Was that an Irwin Allen one? If it's an Irwin Allen, I may have seen it. Trinity Rosmeyer says, Robert, you know that you're loved. I certainly do. And I love you guys all back in a healthy, non threatening kind of way. You are all loved as well. Gary Carpenter says, Thrasher, you and I could be on Jeopardy together. If they ever do Team Jeopardy, I'm all over that. Yeah, I think I'd work better with a team, much like when I played Trivia Pursuit. I'm skipping down. I'm way behind. John Collins says, hello, my friends. I will say that I was late because I'm watching our amazing, wonderful American experiment at work. It's so fascinating and interesting, Bob. Can you speak in my house? Oh, Bob, you can speak in my house at any time. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Bob Renee asked me. I take Ginkgo biloba for memory. Oh, is that something? One of those antioxidants, one of those probiotics that aid in memory. My wife has mentioned something like that. Lance Javen says, "Oh, Mandy, yeah, isn't Mandy great?" Tom says, "I was born a Yankee, but my heart is beneath the Mason-Dixon line." Sweet. And I just jumped. Let's see how bad I jumped this time. Uh, Pretty bad, but I think I can manage it. Ah, yes, there we go. So I'm going to skip down really, really fast. Tug says I was born in Florida, so I'm technically a Southerner. Tug says I will never forget Friendlies. I spent a lot of time there when I was a kid myself, actually. Bobby Renee says, host try super chats. Dave is generous. He certainly is. Minnie Butler says, oh no, Florida's my state. John H in the house. John, how you doing? I loved the watermelon sherbet at the Friendlies. I miss them. Kroger had the watermelon sherbet, but with chocolate chips in it. Ugh. Ever have an orange cooler? An orange cooler is when you take orange soda and orange sherbet and you blend them together and well make a cooler out of it. It is one of the most refreshing things you could possibly ever have. It's really really good. But yeah, I loved Friendly's sherbet. I was one of the sherbet listeners. Uh, Keith E says shows only one prior thumbs up. I'm sure that's lagging behind. Yeah, 'cause I have 20 thumbs up here and 24 people in. So, Zublik says there's no Welk zone tonight and forever. That man makes heads explode. Tom Lemry says Wellington only wants hamburgers every Tuesday, right, Pat? Doug says, yes, ma'am, I was born in Winter Garden. Ted says, which show from NBC's 1994 must see TV Thursday night lineup do you really enjoy the most? Mad About You, Friends, Seinfeld, Mad Men, Of the People, or ER. Um, all great shows, but I would have to say ER. That was my wife's favorite show. I watched it a lot with her, and that was for years. That was our thing. We would watch ER together. So I have to go with nostalgia on that and go with ER. Oh, look who is here. Emily Miller says, woohoo! Emily Miller, I'm so glad you could make it tonight, by the way. I knew you knew because you shared my post that I was doing a show tonight. Always so great to have you. Thank you for joining us. Zublik says, my brother and his daughters live in Winter Garden. Small world. Where is Winter Garden? I understand from context it's in Florida, but I can't quite place where. Tug says, why do you know what brake fluid tastes like? Watch The Beast and you'll understand. Emily says, Mandy, that's too sweet. Yeah, Mandy's been very flattering in her comments tonight. By the way, she's just been a treasure of esteem-inducing niceties. Trithos Meyer says, "I am in Tallahassee, Zuper. Yeah, I call her the Tallahassee Lassie." A lot of people having fellowship, welcoming Miss Emily to the chat. Oh, look who else is it? David May. David, I'm so glad you could make it tonight. My Honda 50 Mini Trail could do 30 miles per hour downhill with the engine on. Dave, thanks for joining us. John Bernstein is also in the house. Says, I am not allowed on Jeopardy because you're too good at it. I believe it. Teresa Rosmeyer says, yes, I call Chicago my hometown. I thought you were Chicagorean. Chicagorean. I'm just a Cape Codder. Teb says New York City has the best subway system in the world. You want to know why? Because about 100 or so years ago, 100 and change, they had an L system of above ground trolley cars, sort of like the L in Chicago. And they had a terrible, terrible blizzard. And the whole thing shut down for like a week or so. And this is the days before people went to grocery stores and would stock up. And people literally, not figuratively, literally ran out of food. And there are stories about people literally, not figuratively, catching pigeons and turning them into pies, waiting for the snow to be removed so they could get around again. And afterwards, the town fathers of the city said, we need a better way to get around in a blizzard. And what better way to get around in a blizzard than being under it? Hence the best subway system in the world. Suffice it to say, that's one of the main reasons why Boston is also a subway town. But moving forward, Daryl Johnson says, "Today your birthday, Emily? Your birthday is sometime this month. I didn't think it was today, though. Correct me if I'm wrong." Tug says, "I have lots of friends in Pensacola. One of my podcasts has three of the guys from there." Emily says, "What did you do, John?" Oh, no. Was Johnny Scamp. David May says, "When are you coming to Montreal?" I have never been to Canada, and I am so ashamed of myself. It's like right there. There's like one state between me and Canada. I am one full quarter Canadian. Malgré habite Quebec. And it's been there, and I've had chances to go in high school and in college, and I've never made it, and I'm getting on in years. The lady who owns my restaurant is actually from Canada. So, you know what? I can't rule it out. I don't travel much anymore, but I've got to get to Canada in the not too distant future. And wow, I am way behind. I'm actually Chet. Oh, hang on a second. I thought I was pretty much caught up too. Yeah, Emily says it's not my birthday. Tug says I don't think Legendary will get the rights to both Godzilla and Gamera, though nothing is completely out of the question. I never thought Batman and Superman would be in the same film. You brought up an excellent point. Mike Silva says, Gary watching Thunderbird 60s TV show. I loved that show when I was a kid. I love that show. And I'm going to shamelessly skip down because if I don't, I will never get caught up. A lot of people ripping Emily being her birthday, even though it's not. John Burton said it's called 50/50 Thrash Pondo. They were sold with pizza puppies. Tom says we had a Orange Julius at the mall in the 70s. I think all malls did in the 70s. Manny Bullet says, please no ER. Oh, it's more nostalgia than anything else. John Collins says, is anyone super excited about the huge Mega Million jackpot? I'm all in. I'm trying to be from the house of paupers to the apartment on the east side, to a deluxe apartment on the east side. Good luck, John. And yes, I have bought some tickets as well. Tug says we still have an Orange Julius at the malls here in St. Louis. Huh. We have one here, but it's actually in a Dairy Queen. I guess they teamed up a while back and now they've combined the franchises in some locales. John Britton says, I'm not because I don't buy tickets. Ah, I see. Len Steven says, Tug, I love that drink. Me too. Me too. How could one not? It's all sugar. Tug says Winter Garden is outside of Orlando. Okay, I've been to Orlando, so I've been pretty close. Zerblex goes on to say Winter Garden is right next to Disney World. Uh, Emily Miller says, Mandy, as long as I don't have to deal with Charles, I'll take the crown. And she goes into Al. I knew what you meant. Actually, I caught it. Dave actually used to tease me because I always read everything exactly as it was written, complete with the typos. That's why every now and then, if I pause, it's because I'm trying to be like a grammar Nazi and actually correcting to what I think people are saying. Keithy says that should say hello, Daryl. Series killing me. Do you got your Daryl? As in, this is my brother Daryl. This is my other brother Daryl. Lance Chavin says, we love all the ladies here. We certainly do. We certainly do. And the men as well. And the men as well. Am I almost caught up? No, I think I just gigged again, actually. Actually, I think I am almost caught up. John Collins says, it's so interesting. Everyone feels that I live in the paradise of Florida. The truth is, I am closer to Alabama than any city which has a sexy image in Florida. Gotcha. That's the thing about Florida. It's a very, 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 very big state. Gary Carter says, Thrasher, I've been to Toronto. Well, that's part of Canada. Tom says Boston Bruins fan. Well, yeah, 'cause you were from New England originally, weren't you? John Burnton says your French is terrible, mon ami. Pardon, mon ami. Mi français is. Mon gamin, parlez français? Ou mi petit? Parlez-vous français, ami? But I've lost it since. And in case you were wondering whether you speak French or not, what I was trying to say was my grandmother spoke French. And when I was little, she spoke it to me, and that's how I learned it. But that's many, many years ago. And yes, my French is terrible. Pardon. Teb says Philly is a subway town as well, even though they only had the Broad Street and Market Frankfurt lines, unless you count the subway surface trolleys and Patco. Thank you for the info. I did not know that. I haven't been to Philly in years. I don't think I rode the mass transportation when I was there. Tug says, I'm a blues guy, but I've always had a soft spot for both the Pennsylvanian teams, especially when they duke it out. And I'm going to suicide, no, not suicide, I'm going to straight on through, right on down to the bottom, because I think that's the only one. Oh, I think I am at the bottom. Yay. Tug says, that sounds dirty. Zublick says, is Julius orange? Sometimes it is. Emily Miller says, best part about Florida is all the Florida man stories. I'll take your word for it. Big Guys 45 says to Lisa Fields, thanks. Apparently she said something nice to Big Guys 45. Tom Lemery says, Dairy Queen is not bad. No, they have some great soft serve ice cream. John Bernstein says we made them at home with Orange Julius and egg whites in a blend of the original. The original Orange Julius's didn't have the powdered concentrate. They used actual egg white, but they changed that years later because of the salmonella scare. Big guys, Lisa Field says, Big Guys 45s, you're welcome. Mandy Butler says, wait, who is my Alabama near Florida? I'm down the street. I live in LA, Lower Alabama. Lower, I get it. Lower LA, Lower Alabama. Do you live by the coast, at the extreme point on the Gulf? Tracy Rosemeyer says, Emily, you're a too funny Florida man. Zublick says, odd that Dairy Queen has absolutely no association with the LBGQ. Zoop, 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 zoop. It's not that kind of queen or dairy. Emily Miller says, tell me I'm wrong, Tracy. Gary Carpenter says, it's a family restaurant. Dairy Queen. Danny Staten says, had to change phones. More than understand, but I'm glad you're here in whichever format you choose. Zublick says Dairy Queen promises to be gender neutral. I gotcha. Mandy Butler says, Lance, we're all family. Yes, remember, Lance, we are all family. Gary Carpenter says, DS, I had to see who was at the door, and it was my sister. Tell her we said hi. Hi, Sister Carpenter. John Doe says, did everybody hit the like button? Yes, please do. We're missing a few, but I'm sure we'll catch up. Liz Chafin says, Mandy liked this song. We were just talking about that song by Barry Manilow. Big Guys 45 says, Thrash, Pondo Pons, we need to let you grow even bigger. I assume you mean not weight as far as subscribers. I couldn't agree with you more. Yes, I do need to lose some weight. But in that case, I need to become smaller. Bobby Renee says Star Trek versus the Predator, and a lot of people are saying Star Trek. Then Gary says Star Trek versus Star Wars. Ooh, now the battle will start. John Bernstein says, voulez-vous que... Yes. Maybe? Like I said, mi français is ugh. And if I think it means what I think you just said, no thank you. Uh, no, très bien. Bobby Renee says, cool. Tom Lemery says, Star Trek. Zublik says, Star Trek again, Gary. Keith E says, I live in Tennessee, where the toothbrush was invented. Lisa Field says, Star Trek, of course. John Collins says, Bob. Randomly on every live stream, you mentioned some variation of the fact that you don't travel anymore or that much anymore. Sir, my friend, is there a specific particular reason for such a stance? Just since the COVID shutdown, I don't travel because if I fly somewhere, I'm afraid that for some terrible reason they'll stop flights on the way back and I'll get stuck where I am. Um, it doesn't stop me from traveling inside the country. In fact, my joke is, the only place I will travel to is someplace I could drive back from if I have to. But I guess you could just say just because of the COVID shutdown, it sort of killed my wanderlust. But who knows? I'm actually going to see a movie on the 21st in the theaters. So I'm reversing my stance on theater viewing, you should say. Tom Henry says, John B., that is the line from the song Lady Marmalade. Yes, okay, then it does mean what I think it is. And no, thank you, stands. Uh, Bobby Renee says, let's remember Cindy. Yes, Cindy DD. I did a actual friend of channel request for her today. That was the whole top 10 forgotten 80s song lyrics. Tug says, I would love to see the Kirk versus Predator a la the Gorn. Ooh, that would be fun. That would be fun. Emily Lewis says, it's more fun in Moulin Rouge. Oui, très bien. Bon temps roulé. Gary Carpenter says, LC, don't forget the minister if he's handy. Wajamin says, hello everyone, I finally made it. Wajamin is in the house, and you know where this is going. Wajamin, you've been putting out some great dad jokes lately, and as always, and if you haven't checked out Wajamin's channel, please, you got to. Um, every time I watch your stuff, I'm like, why isn't this getting more hits? Of course, I say the same thing about my stuff. Why am I not getting more hits? So yes, we need to have maybe we have an exchange program might do. Of course, that's kind of what this is. Mandy Butler says, yes, geek, that would be awesome. A lot of people saying hello to Wajamin. Tom says Star Trek TOS specifically, the original series, yes. A lot of people saying hi to Wajamin, which is good. John Britton says, I said this before, but Barry Manilow's song was originally named Brandy, but Looking Glass hit it big with that song a few weeks before, so we changed it to Mandy. You can find the original in England. Yes, that is a great point, and I love the song Brandy too, by the way. It's a good thing there was another ladies' song which rhymed with Andy. Of course, there's also Candy, Frandy, Zandy, Jandy. I'm just making this up as I go along, but then again, don't I always? Zublik says Kirk and O'Hara, a match made. I'm guessing that's in heaven. I thought they were adorable together. Mandy Butler says, John, how dare you? Oh, about it not being for Mandy, it's always for you. Gary Cameron says, Mandy, the song from White Christmas. We have an Ali Aode says, don't abuse tacos. Good advice. Good advice. Welcome to the party. Right now, we're just talking about old vintage TV shows, movies, that type of thing, music, all topics considered. Tom says, would love to see the Predator kick the crap out of William Shatner. He's a little long on the tooth now. Tom Limley says, I heard that thong. I heard that song. He also slowed it down. Yes, he did. He did. Tug says, Zanti, Misfits? Misfits of Science. Your turn. But I couldn't agree with you more. I don't want to give the game away, but he was talking about the Misfits of Zanti. When you watch the episode, it's not just about the Misfits of Zanti, it's about the Misfits of Earth. And the two really do come together. I would love to see a reboot of that, but Again, I want you to see his episode, so I don't want to steal too much of his thunder. So watch it. Daryl Johnson says, "Don't abuse tacos. Hit the like button." There's a slogan in there. Zublick says, "Why Tom? Captain Kirk was the man. He was, but every now and then you like to see someone else prevail." Gary Carpenter says, "Tom, he's now 90 years old, and he actually went into space. He certainly did." John H. says, "While Kirk and her were making out, Spock was making out with the boss's wife. Were they still married at that time?" I think they were. Tug says he said Shatner, not Kirk. Yeah, raised a very valid point. Zublick says Captain Kirk kicked butt and he landed the babes who were truly hot. He truly did. Minnie Butler says, "I'm very flattered to hear about the songs, and I think you are wonderful." Um, well, we were all talking about it, so on behalf of everyone who's discussing it, you are welcome. Tug says, "Who doesn't love tacos?" John H says, "Except Mariel Barrett was Gene Roddenberry's wife. She was for a time. I don't know if she, yeah, I get because he did marry her after the pilot, so I think they were married at that time." John Bernstein says, "There's a port on the Western Bay serving ships from far away. Lonely sailors spend their time away and talk about their homes. I'm going to get flagged if I keep going, but I love that song. Oh, one more verse. The sailors say, Brandy, you're a fine girl. Take it in the comment section." Not really conducive for a round, so I'll continue. Gary Carpenter says, "Especially Julie Newmar and Yvonne Craig." I always had a thing for Sherry Jackson. What Little Girls Are Made Of. I thought that one was I thought her outfit, she just rocked it. Great episode. Emily Rose says, "Tug, I love tacos." The Lance Chapin says, "Mrs. Science on TV show." A lot of people referring to Emily's comment. Let's just see. Skipping down. John Doe says, "Misfits of Science was a fantastic show. Maybe you can watch along with it." If it streams, yeah, that might be fun. Tracy Myers says, "Eartha Kitt was gorgeous too. She certainly was. She certainly was." Denny Staten retracted a message, and a message retracted to you. Lisa Field says, "Tracy, I think so too. I think we can all agree." Danny Staten says, "Pung Far." I thought it was the palm. I thought it was the palm far, but pawn far. I thought it was with an M. In an Italian restaurant, it's the parm far. Mandy Butler says, "I am the original Star Trek fan. I love Kirk." Oh, and she too says it's Pawn. Gary also had. Oh, Liz Giffen says Gary also had Courtney Cox in that show too. I did not know that. Emily says Shatner was a cutie back in the day. He certainly was. He certainly was. And Tug says, "When I finish Outer Limits, I'm thinking of doing TOS, but I worry about the copyright bots." Yeah. Tom Lemery says, "I think Gene was married before he met Mariel. Uhura was the other woman till she broke it off." That I didn't know, but yes, he was married before Marjorie, whatever is the lady he went on to play the Nurse Chapel. I always mispronounce her name. Tim. Why, hello, Tim. Welcome back to the party. Tim is, "I'm all about Crackling's Rosie." I'm not sure what a Crackling's Rosie is, but welcome to the party. Emma says, Magic. I'm just going to call her Mario. Mario was the other woman. That's what I thought too, but Ahura, would you be surprised? Tom says Sherry Jackson is still alive and does conventions. And yes, Nurse Barrett, Miss Barrett was also the voice of the computer. Working. Yeah. Tug says Troy was Margil playing herself. I believe it. The Apologetic Geek says, "Man, do you win?" Zuplik says Sherry Jackson started out in the Ma Pa Kettle movies. Really? I know she was also on Lost in Space and did an episode of Star Trek. At least one episode, I think maybe two episodes. Her stepfather was wrote and directed for Star Trek. Tug says sometimes you just gotta go with the flow, even if you have no idea what's going on. That's gotten me through most things, not just this chat. Lance Javen says Crackling Rose is oh, Cracklin Rose. I thought Cracklin Rosie. I'm not gonna Cracklin Rose. You're a store, but well, yeah, no, yes. And Tim goes on to also say Neil Diamond, Cracklin Rosie's song. Yes, I do know that song. Actually, thank you. You're a store bought woman, but I actually there's a forgotten lyrics in that one too. But yes, I do. I am familiar with it. I just can't sing it on command. But Tim, thank you for wow, John Bernstein also knows Cracklin Rose. Okay. Uh, it was the Rosie that was throwing me off. Gary Cameron says, LC, I meant he was married to Rose from 227. John H. says, very sad about Sherry Jackson and her mom. Her dad died in World War II, then her stepfather died of cancer in his 40s, and her half brother died young too. I didn't know about the half brother. Bobby Renee says Sigourney Weaver versus the Predators. Good one. Very good. Lisa Field says unapologetic geek. Yes, good advice. Tug says Sigourney Weaver kicked their butts. Sublook says Sherry was also in Make Room for Danny. You mean Make Room for Daddy with Danny Thomas? I think that's what you mean. Tom says Neil Diamond also wrote some monkey songs. Yeah, he sure did. He sure did. He also wrote Red Red Wine, which I didn't know when UB40 did it. I found out later on. But yeah, he started out as a studio musician. You know who else started out writing songs for other people? Was Paul Simon. Paul Simon. Oh yeah, somebody corrected Make Room for Daddy, yes. Zublik says Make Room for Daddy, I apologize. Yeah, we got it. John Burton says I can sing all of it. Well, you're not on the spot like I am, so it is a good song. I also have somewhere in my collection. I have a copy of his version of the Jazz Singer. Tug says Rosie the Robot from the Jetsons. Gary Carper says, "Did you know that Manson tried to get on the Monkey Show?" There's a bell ringing in my head. Yeah, didn't he know Mike Nesmith? Because Mike Nesmith moved in some fairly influential circles with like sort of avant-garde underground music. That there's a bell ring in my head. There's a couple of spots that were done by oh Zappa, Frank Zappa. So yeah, I certainly believe it. John Doe says Knight Rider, Street Hawk, or Automan. Knight Rider. Les Javen says, or Love on the Rocks. Ain't no surprise. Pour me a drink, and I'll tell you something. Speaking of which, there's a scene in the Jazz Singer, Neil Diamond's Jazz Singer, where he writes that song for an English rocker who wants to turn it into an up tempo song. And he goes, no, 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 you have to do it this way. And he does it like the Torch song. And the English rocker tells him to like hit the bricks. Supposedly, Neil Diamond based that on a true story. And if anyone is familiar with this anecdote and could tell me who the English rocker who threw him off the stage was, I'll give you a gold star for the day. Tim says, I must have those lyrics mixed up with Whole Lot of Rosie. Well, like I say, I can't think of the words myself on the top of my head, but I do like the song. My mother was a huge, 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 huge Neil Diamond fan when I was a kid. Mandy Butler says Neil Young's my mom's. Neil Young's my mom records that are great. Oh, you like Neil Young? Your mother likes Neil Young. Now I'm with it. Your mother likes Neil Young. Emily Miller says, Gary, a lot of folks really liked Manson. It's strange, isn't it? Tom says, I don't know, I just lost the comment. Uh, I'll try to find it. Oh, Tom says, I have two Charles Manson signatures. Creepy. Oh, Gary Carpenter says, John Doe Manimal. Zublik says, that is apocryphal. Manson was in prison at the time, Gary. In 66? No, he didn't go to prison until, I want to say 70 or even 71. But 66, 67, 68 is around the time they were filming the the monkeys. Because my mom used to say she used to watch the show and she was giving me my bottle. John H says Sherry's half brother Robert John Pittman played Little Seymour on Dennis the Menace. That's a cute fact. I did not know that. I did not know that. Keith, he says, Sweet Caroline, bum, bum, bum. Good times never seem so good. So good, so good, so good. I've been inclined. John Burton says, Neil Diamond wrote, I'm a believer. He certainly did. Emily Miller says, Keith, my granddaughter Caroline loves that song. Lance Chafin says September Morn. That's another good one. John Collins says, Bob, when I sent you my idea, which would be a plan for you, I was saying that it could be topical, not always government discernations, and you wouldn't have to be an analyst, more like a pundit. As I said, John, I am considering the project. I think you made some excellent points. Um, so yes, I will consider your. John has made an excellent suggestion of a side project channel I could have, and I'm considering it. I'm just trying to get this one going first. Just skipping down to Johnny says Rosie was voiced by the same woman who voiced Wilma Flintstone. I knew that. You can actually tell if you listen closely. Zublik says the Monkeys premiered in 1966. Manson was imprisoned in Terminal Island at the time. I'm gonna have to check my facts. You might be right. You might be right, but I thought he wasn't in prison until later. Well, of course, he was in and out of prison for years too, and you have to remember the Monkeys ran for 3 years. So you know what? I'm gonna check Zuplex and I'm gonna get back to you because you raised an excellent point. So I'm gonna, and yes, Gary Carpenter, he did know the Beach Boys. Emma Miller says, I know Manson was friends with the Beach, but yes, a lot of people knew that. Trace Rosmar says Carole King was a studio musician as well. Yes, they actually made a musical about her life. And I believe, if I remember correctly, she and Paul Simon and Neil Diamond were all working in the same office at the same time at one point. Wow, could you imagine three of the most creative geniuses in American music history all working at the same time for scale? Mr. Lynn says Manson was very short. I think 5'2". Yes, he's shorter than I am. That's pretty darn short. Tom Memory says Sweet Caroline, blah blah blah. And I jumped again, so hold on to that thought. Someone mentioned. Oh, here it is. So Book says Manson lived in Dennis Wilson's house for some time in '68. Indeed, the Monkeys were on then too, so that might have been the same time we were talking about. Tom Lemery says message retracted, and a message retracted to you. Oh, I get it. Ziplik says Manson was in prison for check fraud from 60 to 67. Yeah, but the Monkeys ran for another 2 years. Trinity Meyer says Manson's signatures are just as good as John Wayne Gacy clown paintings. Just as creepy, too. Uh, John Doe says hotels was afraid to have the Beach Boys stay because they was to party so hard they basically destroyed the rooms, and the hotel had to do heavy repairs. A lot of rockers were like that at the time. Tom Leary says, "Have to go. Take care, everyone." Tom, thanks so much for coming by tonight. Pleasure to have you as always. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you very, very soon. Bobby Renee says, "Sweet Caroline was to Carolyn Kennedy." I don't think so. I think that was just a coincidence. But you're thinking, and I love it. Emily Winter says, "Zuplex. As crazy as it sounds, I would have loved to have interviewed the guy before his death. An interview now would be cool too, though." Ew. Mandy Butler says, I'd like to say thanks to everyone for talking to me. Well, we love talking to you. You're a very nice person who says a lot of nice things, and we like to interact with nice people. That's the whole point of me doing these is to have nice people interact with each other. In fact, sometimes you're so interactive, I can't get all the interactions. And you guys are always princes about that and princesses about that or what have you. But again, this whole thing is about fellowship and having fun. And tonight, I think we've had both. And hopefully, there's even a few more people we haven't seen tonight. That hopefully they will join us. Because we still what time is it? Oh, it's only 9 o'clock. I want to go for at least another half hour. At least another half hour. And I just jumped again, so I'm going to scan down, scanning. And Gary Carpenter says the Monkeys, Batman, Adam's Family, Monsters, F Troop, and Gilligan's Island ran for 3 years. That became the magic number for syndication. You needed 3 years on TV to become a syndicated show. John H. says the Monkeys were hired in 1965. If Manson was in prison in 67, he couldn't have tried out for their group. Oh, no. He wasn't going to be one of the Monkeys. My understanding is that much like Frank Zappa and other people had little guest spots on the show, he wanted to be on the show as well. And I think there was some kind Mike Nesmith knew somebody who knew Charles Manson because Mike Nesmith loved underground music, hence his connection with Frank Zappa and some other people as well. So I think that's how Manson could have been on the show, not as a star, but as a guest in one of the later seasons. And thank goodness he wasn't. Mandy Butler says, "I've been inside San Quentin. My friend's father worked there. A neighborhood around it so weird." Yeah, there was a neighborhood for the guards and other support staff. Danny Staten says, "Have you seen the trailer for the new Renfield movie? OMG, Nicolas Cage is Dracula." I've seen a couple of spots, but I haven't seen the whole trailer. I'll have to check it out. I'm sure I can find it on YouTube. Danny Staten says Bill just rolled over in his grave. Oh, it's that bad? Emily Miller says something. She just jumped. Uh, um, it sounds like a fun field trip going to uh, the prison. Tug says, "I did see that trailer, Danny. I'm interested, but I worry that the shtick won't last for the length of the whole movie. I'll have to see the trailer to see what you mean." John Doe says, "Having to go. I'll talk to you on the flip side." Dude, John, thank you so much for joining us, by the way. Glad you got the email. Glad you could actually text me and email me. And I'll talk to you very, very, very soon. Take care of yourself. Thanks for joining. Gary Carpenter says, "DS." So did Christopher Lee. Tim says, "Rat Patrol, Combat, McHale's Navy." You know what? I liked all of those shows, and they were all very, very different. The opening sequence at Rat Patrol, where they're going through the dunes, with the specially tripped out Jeeps with the 30 calibers. That looked like so much fun. And of course, how can you not love Combat? And McHale's Name was a comedy, but it was still cool. So yeah, all great shows. As you probably, I don't know, Tim, you probably already know this. In addition to being a sci-fi nostalgia buff, I'm also a huge World War II buff. And Mimler says, "I love me some Nick Cage." Ooh, saucy. Uh, skipping down. Tim says, which 60s fantasy sitcom do you love the most? Mr. Ed, My Favorite Martian, Bewitched, The Addams Family, The Munsters, I Dream of Jeannie, The Flying Nun, or The Ghost of Mrs. Muir. Um, I'd have to go with The Munsters first. I loved Mr. Ed when I was a kid. They didn't have My Favorite Martian on in like syndication in channels where I grew up, so I didn't see that one until much later. I liked it, but I didn't really wasn't really into it. I love Bewitched and The Addams Family, great shows, and of course, I Dream of Jeannie as well. And The Flying Nun was good, but I also loved The Ghost of Mrs. Muir because it was set in New England, sort of my neck of the woods. Big S 45 says Thrash Pondo, my phone's battery is almost dead. LOL. Well, stay as long as you can, and if you have to scoot or get the boot, we will shoot the stuff later. Deb says correction. The Addams Family ran for only 2 seasons. Actually, I think Monsters only lasted for 2 seasons too. Now that you mention it, but I'm probably mixing up two comments you've made. Tug says, I love me some My Favorite Martian. A lot of people did it. They just didn't play it in my area. Oh, and F Troop only ran for 2 seasons. I did not know that. I did not know that. Danny Staten says, honestly, I've seen several clips from the new Renfield movie, and the only thing I like so far is Nicolas Cage. John H says, Boston Channel 56 did have My Favorite Martian in the late 60s. I found in an old TV guide. In the late 60s, I was like 2. By the time I was watching Channel 56 later on, this would have been in like the early mid 70s. It wasn't. But I'm sure it was on somewhere, just not. Bear in mind, for a while, we only got like one channel. Tim says, I was just watching Ghost and Mrs. Muir on YouTube. Great show. Love Charles Nelson Riley. Garrett Carpenter says, playing with the Queen of Hearts. You know what I mean? Really smart. Joker's the only fool. Liz Javen says, Zuber, kiss my grits. From Alice, of course. Big S45 says they need to invent a phone that doesn't need a recharging battery. Gosh darn it. Yes, consarn it. That would be great, wouldn't it? Emily says, Zuplex, she was having a hissy fit, and I was L laughing my off. John H says, I saw lots of Channel 56 visiting my grandparents. I used to live on Channel 56 when I was like in my 7, 8, 10, 12. That was the channel in my area that was showing Son of Svengoolie when I was in high school, right after Creature Double Feature. Actually, yeah, when they stopped Creature Double Feature, it was taken over by Son of Svengoolie. Tab says, which music and or dance theme show do you really love the most? American Bandstand, Midnight Special, Soul Train, Solid Gold, America's Top 10, or it's Showtime at the Apollo. Midnight Special, I used to stay up late when I was a kid to watch when my uncles would let me watch TV with them. Soul Train and Solid Gold were great. Solid Gold particularly because that was sort of my music that we're talking like when I was like first getting into music as a teenager. So I'm gonna have to go with those 3. Tug says nothing. He just jumped off the screen. Tug says this will sound weird, but does anybody else vividly remember the smell of the TV guide? Something about the way it was printed gave it a distinctive smell, at least to me. No, no, like we were talking about that heavy sort of chemical smell. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Lisa Field says even watching Ghost and Mrs. Muir too. A lot of people still love that show to this day. Manny Butler says, I can't keep up. I will be looking for the one who had experience with San Quentin because I would love to hear your story. Yeah, that happens, Manny, where there'll be so many comments. It's hard to actually keep track of everyone talking to you. Tom says, Soul Girl with Marilyn McCoo. She was a very, very beautiful woman. Ken Wilkinson is in the house. Good evening, Cindy. Oh, and Cindy, speaking of which, Cindy D in the house. Says hello, Jameen. Cindy, did you get to see the top 10 80s forgotten lyrics I posted for you today? Hope you enjoy. I have both the questions and the answers, and I can't stress that part enough, people. It's done in two parts. The first part are the questions, and then you go to the second part to get the answers. I think some people forget that. So please, once you see the first part, then go on and watch the second part, where I give people the answers. But hello to you all too. John H says Me TV is close to the old channel 56. Unfortunately, 56 no longer has its good old shows. No, it doesn't. Channel 38 has got off the rails too. All the old I used to grow up on those two channels, and now they don't do anything even close to what they did back when I was a kid. It's very, very, very sad. Let's just see any other late bloomers coming in. For those of you who just made it, yeah, we're going to be wrapping up soon, by the way. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're going to call it. Well, I mean, we got about another 15, 20 minutes or so. So, any last minute comments, please feel free to throw them in. Oh, Tab has one here. Which horror TV show host do you really love the most? Vampira, John Zacharil, Elvira, or Son Svengoolie? I have seen Svengoolie, but Son of Svengoolie would be my favorite of that batch. Do love Elvira. I actually have some of her tapes. Um, as far as Vampira and John Zacharil, not too familiar with their work. I'm sure I've seen them probably on YouTube composites, but I'm going to stick with Elvira and Son of Svengoolie. Miller says to Terrell, Elvira, no surprise there. Cindy D says, love me some Andy Gibb on Solid Gold, such a cutie. He was such a heartbreaker. It was so sad. He was so sad. Very, very sad. Tug says, look, there was something about Elvira that was very mesmerizing. Yes. I certainly can't argue with you there. Tim says, my favorite host, Count Floyd. I think I'm thinking of Uncle Floyd. There was an Uncle Floyd who had sort of a sketch comedy show. I can't recall the Count Floyd. It was the same person, just doing different shows. And Tim, I'm usually not this all over the place, so try to bear with me. But again, when you do nostalgia, things sort of ring little bells in one's mind. Tom says, I live in Vallejo, California, 30 minutes away, bumped into a guy who was stuck in there. Sucks. Tug says, I like Peter Vincent. Peter Vincent, Vampire Killer, which is either a play on Vincent Price and Peter Cushing, or Elvira's real name is Peters. And she was preceded by a host on the show she took over, whose name was Vincent. So it could be a play on Miss Peters and Vincent. Opinion is divided. Tim says SCTV. Oh yes, I forget his name, but the guy who was on it did. Yes, all right, I do remember Count Floyd. Thank you very much. Tom says Creature Features host Bob Wilkins. I saw him on something, but I didn't get that show in my area. Let's just see. Mandy Butler says, hey everyone, especially Thrash Pondo, I have loved this chat. Well, Mandy, I'm so glad you were able to join us tonight. I'm sure everybody here, I speak for them all when I say we loved having you. So thank you for joining us. I might try again, because I'm not working for the next, well, probably month. I might do some more shows if I'm not stepping on Dave or Pat or anyone's toes. I might actually have some more nightly chats. It'll be around 8 o'clock at night, and I'll let you guys know in advance if I do. But let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more than one night a show. One night a week show is what I meant to say, but you know what I mean. Big Guys 45 is asking everyone if you could please check out his channel if you don't mind. He's been putting on some great stuff. He's this close to reaching his goal of subscribers. Let's see if we can help him out. It'd be really, really nice of us. I'm sorry. Ted made a very good point. Then he jumped off the screen. Terrell Eugene Bellinger says Anita Potter passed away recently, which means that Ruth Pointer is now the last surviving Pointer sister, just like Barry Gibb being the last surviving BG. Yes, instead of the brothers Gibb, it is now simply the Gibb. Very sad, but true. It's just Mandy Butler says Fright Night. Yes. Welcome to Fright Night. I have the soundtrack somewhere. Just skipping down because as we were wrapping up, I want to make sure that I get to say hello to everybody. And yes, I'm pretty much. Wait. Here's somebody. Um, Cordman Tommy. Cordman Tommy asks, "Am I too late tonight?" You are not too late. We've only got about another 15 minutes to go. But you are not too late. You are never too late. Where there is live, there is hope. So far, Cordman Tommy, I'm just going to call you Tommy for the purposes of this discussion. We're just talking about favorite nostalgic TV shows, films, music, little tidbits. If you have a topic you'd like to throw out, we got about 15 minutes we can spend on it. So please, people, if Mr. Tommy has something he want to throw out to the crowd, everybody get your thinking caps going, and we'll try to expand on his topic. 76 Strong Bones. Oh, we haven't seen 76 in a while, have we? Tommy asks, what was the Brothers Gibb news again? That Barry is the last Gibb to still be with us. It's sad but a fact. So instead of the Brothers Gibb, it is simply now the Gibb. And Tommy is fine. Thank you, Tommy. Call me Pawns or Thrash or Host. Bobby started calling me Host, by the way. I think that's catchy. So Tommy, thank you. CDD says tragedy was the Bee Gees. It certainly was. It certainly was. Skipping down, John Collins says, Bob, I'm not very good at geography, but I know you live in Massachusetts and Philadelphia is not far away. Did you ever go to American Bandstand in person? It was filmed there. I have been to Philadelphia. Never saw American Bandstand live, but I have been to Philadelphia a few times. In fact, funny story. My mother, who also lived in a town not far from where I live today, when she was a kid, American Bandstand was huge. It was one of the biggest shows on television, particularly to teenagers. And she was so psyched because my grandfather, who was a mill worker at the time, my grandfather got a transfer to one of the mills out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And she goes, "Oh, goody, goody. I'm going to live in Pennsylvania, the same state as Philadelphia. I can go over and see American Bandstand wherever I want." Now, here's a fun fact. Pittsburgh is farther away from Philadelphia than Philadelphia was to the town in Massachusetts where my mother was living at the time, because Pennsylvania is a much bigger state. She was monumentally disappointed. Not her biggest disappointment in life, I promise you, but it was certainly up there. Skipping down. John H says a bandstand moved to LA in February 1964. I forgot that. Starting the weekend when the Beatles were in New York City on the Sullivan Show. That is a great music. Oh my God, John, I'm gonna have to ask you that again sometime. That is a great music trivia question. Tidbit. Thank you. Zuplik says, "How did you guess unapologetic?" Actually, the good one once worked in the Congo in the Peace Corps until he made me so sick I had to imprison him just to stop all the What the heck are you talking about? I'm sorry. Tom Hungry Jerk says, "What about Major Mud, Bob?" I have vague memories of Major Mud. He had retired pretty much by the time I started watching TV. He died when I was like 11 or 12. And there was huge to do in the Boston area when we lost Major Mud. But again, he was more or less retired when I was a kid. Tommy says yes to Gary. Was it the I Love Captain and Tennille? Well, whatever it was, Gary, Tom says yes. Cindy D says, I still remember Prince on the American Bandstand with those plastic see-through pants. I want to be your lover. I thought the first song Prince did was Little Red Corvette. Tommy says, Muskrat Love, baby. They were married at the time, weren't they? Danny Stanton has given us another link to the Unapologetic Geek. Thank you. Tommy's laughing at Cindy's comment about Prince's outfit. Bobby Renee says, I hate Muskrat Love. Emily Miller says, I guess Superplex and I both have evil twins. Zuplik says, didn't Prince once dress in panties? Not to my recollection. Tug says, I live near Pittsburgh, and yes, PA is a very large state. Yes, it is. Tug says, stop pretending you're the good twin, Emily. Or Zuplex were on the subject. Gary Gabbard says he was a weirdo. He certainly was. Lance Javen says, Air Supply, I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you. Manny Butler says, Muskrat. Yes, as in Muskrat Love. Tab says, I gotta go now. Hope you have a good night. Hope you have a great night as well, Tab. Thank you so much, and thank you for the tidbits. They're always great for get the conversation going. Tommy says, Bobby, Captain Tennille, blasphemous. I don't know if it's blasphemous, but let's see. Emily says, Tug, sadly, the good one is no longer with us. I mean, the evil. You guys are starting to creep me out. Stop it. Gary Carter says, Sonny and Cher, I got you, babe. Indeed. My parents used to sing that when I was a kid. It brings back terrifying memories. Let's just see. Johnny says, I just like Captain Tennille for Master Joke Theater. I'm not familiar with that one. It's probably part of their show. Tommy says, but Bobby hated Muskrat Love. Bobby replies, yep. I'll just see. Tom says, me and my wife met over Air Supply. No kidding. Small world. John Collins says, during the Christmas time, I was watching the 1947 version of The Miracle on 34th Street and got me to thinking, I wonder what happened to Santa Claus letter from Natalie Wood. Such an artifact to own. A lot of those old artifacts from cinema would be great to have. Tommy says, I'm just being silly tonight. Half the fun of this show is being silly. Bringing up fun facts, making silly statements. It's trust me, Tommy, you're not doing anything out of character here. So thank you. And by the way, just in case Daryl hasn't gotten you already, don't forget to like and subscribe. So like the show and subscribe to my channel. And if you get a chance, please check out some of my other posts. I have what I think is some pretty slick nostalgia posts there. I have some other earlier live chats that could be fun to watch, but I do a lot of posts on vintage comic books, old vintage sci-fi and horror literature and film. I have a series on the best dad jokes money could buy, and some other stuff that you might find fun. So please like and subscribe and check out some of my earlier posts. Tug says, stop saying it's a small world. I worked at Disney World, and you're giving me PTSD flashbacks. It's a world of blah, blah, world of blah. It's a world of blah, blah, world of sorry. Oh, wow. I am definitely going to get flagged by Disney. They do not mess around. Mr. Lynn says, good night, folks. Can't even hear Thrash in my headphones for some reason. Must be my internet. See you on the next one. Yeah, I think things are definitely winding down, people. I'm starting to glitch. I'm even glitching on my end. Do you guys see me glitching? Well, either way. Stubby 1085. I'm a fat bearded dude too. Is that a reference to me? Well, welcome to the party. Unfortunately, we're just about to wrap things up. So I want to thank you for joining us. Feel free to watch the rest of the show in flashback, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out some of my earlier posts as well. Um, ah, Stubby 1085 is also a Beatles fan because he said love is all we need. That sounds good to me. Uh, Tommy says no glitch, not Max Headroom yet. Max Headroom. Was it 10 minutes into the future? He always said. Stubby 1085 says thank you for acknowledging me. Well, thank you for joining the show, albeit at this late hour. Thank you. I normally go on Thursday nights at 8. So if you like my channel after you've liked this show and subscribed and check it out, you could join us next Thursday. I might even do another show later on this week. I haven't decided. I have some time free at this time. Tommy says amen to the Beatles. Indeed, indeed. Cindy says, good night, Kenneth Wilkinson. Oh, Ken, you're leaving us? Thanks for joining us, as always, Ken. Tug says, good night, Thrash. Talk to you soon when I figure out my stream schedule. Daryl John says, good night, Lisa. Oh yeah, Lisa's leaving too. Zuckles also saying good night. Lisa, take care. Thank you so much for joining us. A lot of people saying good night to everyone who's leaving. If I've missed you, by the way, please forgive me. I feel like it's laughing. And Rhoda Martin is saying good night to everybody at the end. Let's see. Stubby says maybe I'll hang around. That'd be great. Like I say, check out some of my earlier posts. If you like them there, you might like some of our next future live chats. Gary Carpenter says, "See you soon, Sir Lancelot." Lance, I didn't know if you were leaving or not, but if you are leaving, peace. If you're not, we're all leaving soon, so peace anyway. John H says, good night, Thrash, and all. Oh, Les Javen says, night. Bye, ladies. Sweet dreams. That's very, very kind of you. Gary Cameron says, good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are. Who said that? Not too late. Jimmy Durante. Cindy says, good night, John Boy. Mandy Butler says, because I love you all and wish I was as cool as you. Oh, that's so sweet. Emily Melissa, sweet dreams, Bobby. Bobby Renee says, thank you. Cindy says, good night, all. This is getting so touching and sweet. Oh, Jenny Staten has given another link to Wajamin's channel. Please check him out as well. Tommy says, Gary Durante style. Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are. BK on the air. Oh, Barry, I'm so sorry. We're just wrapping up, but BK on the air. Barry, our friend, says Happy New Year 2023, pal. So glad you could make it. Jenny Staten, please, a link to Mr. Barry. He and his friend Alan do some absolutely amazing podcasts, and you got to check them out. They're absolutely amazing. Just some great nostalgic stuff in there, as well as some modern, cool info that I'm sure everyone would find interesting. Keith E says, Emily, I'm not leaving, but I'm saying goodnight to you just in case. Yeah, I know. None of us want to like snub anybody, so we're all saying goodnight to each other. My mother does that. She'll be like, good night, Bob, good night, Donna, good night, Jamie. And then she'll start up again because that first goodnight didn't quite catch. So sometimes I end up saying goodnight to my mother a couple of times. At family functions, it was always a hoot because she'd go around and say goodnight to everybody and then say goodnight to you again because, well, I don't want you to feel snubbed. You know, it was actually very, very cute. But yeah, oh, good night, Mom, if you're watching. Night, Mom. She usually does too, brother. Oh, Tommy says, we're just sweet people. Yes, we are, Tommy. Thank you. Big Guys 45 has specifically asked Tommy, could you check out my content channel if you don't mind? Thanks. He is this close to his subscriber goal, and we're all trying to get them there. And I regret I have but one sub I can give for my channel. A lot of people saying goodbye, sweet dreams. Les James says sweet dreams, Emily. Stubby says thanks for being a good sport, old boy. Well, again, thank you for being a good sport about coming in at the end, by the way. Don't feel you're getting the bum's rush. I'm very, very glad you were able to join. And like I say, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is my traditional kickoff. So if you can make it to the next one, love to have you. Oh, by the way, for you new guys, just in case you hadn't heard, you can follow me on Facebook. If you go on Facebook and follow me there, I always give updates whenever I'm going to do another live show. So in addition to my YouTube channel where I have a comment board, you can also follow me on Facebook and see when my next shows are coming up. And Tommy says, "Gotta scoot. I'll check out the big guy subbing here too. Night, guys and gals." Tommy, again, welcome to the party. I'm looking forward to seeing you very, very, very soon. Stubby says he's a good salesman. I can tell. Worked in sales for many, many years. Thank you for the observation. I crave positive reinforcement. Wajamin says this is an awesome community. We certainly try. Tom says good night, everyone. Tug says, naughty, naughty, no, but Scotty. Zuplik says, I think I can fit another victim for my dungeon. A twin would love company. Again, we talked about this creepiness. Tommy, peace as well. Dave Clooney says, let's see favorite retro TV show, Andy Griffith, Dennis the Menace, and Leave It to Beaver. Excellent, excellent shows. And Dave Clooney, again, I know we're wrapping things up for people who got here late. Very, very sorry. But Dave, I want to thank you so much for joining us. And again, I'm going to try to do another show this week too, by the way, because I have some nights free this week. But thanks, everyone. Tim says good night. Good night to you. Stubby says, I've known you for like 5 seconds and I want to be friends with you. You're my man. That is so kind. That is so kind. I try to think of myself as an approachable person. So thank you, Stubby. Zuplik says Andy Griffith. He's voting for that one. I accepted all three of Dave's as a whole, but he's going with the Andy Griffith show. Tug says everybody wants to be friends with Thrash. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, and Gary Cabby remembers Mayberry RFD. Okay. Oh, and Cindy D says, of course, the Beaver from Leave It to Beaver. Okay, so anyway, guys, I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up. It's all of you have been so cool and so interactive. And again, if I've missed anybody or didn't deal with the topics you presented enough, please bear with me. I got 1,500 comments from you folks on one of my chats. That's a lot for me to read and comment on and interact with. So if I skip anybody, I apologize. But anyway, I want to thank all of you guys for showing up tonight, and I appreciate all of your input. And hopefully we'll see you all again very, very, very soon. I have some last minute comments I'm going to read in. Stubby says, I wasn't meaning to be mean. I genuinely love this channel. Oh, no one thought you were being mean. Oh, no. We all try to be sincere here. My grandfather said always be sincere when you don't mean it. So no, I honestly think, I believe that you actually like it here. And, or you wouldn't be here. You would have left by now. Most of the people who stay on this show do so because they like it. So no, totally, I believe your sincerity. A lot of people saying last minute good nights. Oh, Gary Carpenter says, oh, Stubby, we like you. Oh, that was so nice of you. Oh, and Wajibin says, welcome, Stubby. That's very nice of you as well. Oh, Dave Clooney says Mary Big RFD was good too. It certainly was. Tom says, ciao. Ciao for now. And let us know how that new job's working for you. John Collins says, Bob, nighty night. Daryl John says it's a nice place to hang out. I like to think that we are. Emily Miller says, too late, Bobby. I'm in love with you. Deal with it. I'm not sure which Bobby you're referring to, Bobby or this Bobby, but either way, you honor me. It was Bobby Renee because he's looking genuinely. Anywho, folks, be good, be safe, be careful. And I'm looking to see you all again very, 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 very soon. Take care. Peace.